TrekWars, Duels Across the Stars. Episode 3. The Dark Side is Futile.
It is a dark time for TrekWars. Although the Power Wraiths have been banished, Klingon warriors have driven the rebel forces from their hidden base and pursued them across the mirror universes. Evading the dreaded Chemadar fleet, a group of great greedy huts led by Nimro has established a new secret spar on the rainy planet of Ferenginar. The evil lord Kylo Ren, obsessed with finding out if he is in the top 5 villains, has dispatched 3 fans in the far reaches of Star Trek and Star Wars space to check.
Hello there and welcome to episode 3. The Dark Side is Futile. I am Olympus.
I'm Ben Kerno, and can I just introduce our first guest? Hello, Matt from... Please introduce yourself.
Good evening. Matt or Mad Turnip is there. Yes, some of the people watching this may know me from the Adventures of the Star Trek Livingston on Twitch on Hailing Frequencies, where I play Lieutenant Commander Bosch, the Ferengi, although that may or may not have something to do with what's in my top picks. Medical doctor.
Ooh. So, quick question. We've answered this in the first round, in our first episode, but how did you get into Star Trek and Star Wars, for a matter of fact?
So yeah, it's probably a good time to say that I've never watched either. No, Star Wars, I remember very clearly as a kid watching Return of the Jedi just on repeat. To be honest, but I'd watched it so many times, didn't even realize there was more films or anything else to sort of come with it. And I did then, and I'm old enough to have seen episode 1 in the cinema, which was a phenomenal experience. Say what you will about the film, and there's a lot to say about that film. To see it in a full surround sound, just the anticipation of it was phenomenal. But yes, I've been a big Star Wars fan since that. And Star Trek again, I grew up in the sort of TNG era, although I will say my big focus, and I will say my favorite series is DS9. I'm a big DS9 fan. And actually one of the kind of resounding memories, I guess, as a kid was actually the very first episode of Voyager being broadcast in the UK, which was weirdly enough at the end of a Red Dwarf night. So there was a whole load of like Red Dwarf stuff. There was like so at the time there was like Can't Cook Woku. They did Can't Smeg.
Oh yes.
Smeg. And then at midnight, whenever it was Caretaker part 1. I think it might have been part 1, part 2, was played, and that was the first. And I remember that being a big like. I absolutely love with Next Gen and this new Star Trek, and that always sort of sticks out. And yeah, now as a hobby, I play in a Star Trek RPG game. So yeah, there's no hope for me, I don't think.
Sounds good.
Like-minded people you're with here. I mean, my again, I grew up with the Next Generation. That is my all-time favorite. I've got a deep love for DS9 and Voyager as well, but no one will take TNG away from me. Whereas Ben, you're full steam ahead on DS9, aren't you?
Yeah, I got brought up with TNG as well, same as you. But yeah, once I watched it all through, I've loved all the characters and the side characters and everything. I'm just trying to. It may come into at least one of the picks that I've got tonight, which is top 5 villains this episode.
I stand by an earlier comment that if we don't all have the same top villain, then whoever else hasn't got it is wrong.
Brilliant, that's good.
I'll be prepared to be wrong.
It'll be very interesting to see how many of them marry up as well, actually, won't it? Because the last 2 episodes in a row, and again, for anyone watching this or listening to us for the first time, we do not share our choices with each other ahead of these episodes. So it's as much a surprise to us as to you guys when you're hearing them for the first time. And it's resulted in the first 2 episodes that we've done of 1 overlap on each episode, which has turned very nice because it changes that dynamic and it changes the sort of way that we're answering things a little bit too. So interesting to see if that happens tonight, and if it does, how many times.
So I'm keeping score already. I won't put it up because you'll see my picks on the list already. Keeping score. Tell you what, Olympus, let's start with you. Did you have any rules for how you picked your villains?
So I kept it direct to Star Trek and Star Wars only. So I didn't let it expand out beyond any other. I didn't let it expand it to other franchises or anything that's Star Trek adjacent, like the Orville or that. I've kept it purely Star Trek and Star Wars. And that aside, no, not really. I've tried to keep it to individuals rather than a species as much as possible. And I say that because one of my picks, you could probably have a little bit of a, argument about it one way or the other, and that's all I'll say on that one. I can see from your faces, you both already know what pick that is, but yeah. So we'll see. But that's the rules I had.
Mad Turnip, did you make any rules for your picks?
Kind of similar, actually. I kept it purely to Star Trek, Star Wars. I did let the kind of greater, kind of wider canon of each help to kind of, because there's a couple of picks that if I'd based purely on where they're the most the kind of the most well known, I don't think they'd have made the thing. But having them spread into the other sort of aspects of TV series or films or vice versa or things like that, and also I kept away from races. Again, arguably there's one in there that we'll see, but yeah.
Fair enough. With my one, I decided to go for a different track because every time I was doing research and my automatic picks were individuals, and I thought, actually, why go for something different that I don't usually see? And I decided to go for organisations that are generally fun. I've tried not to do species, but that might come into it.
This now explains why you've had 11 or 12 different versions of your list. Organisations just branches out those possibilities quite a bit.
Yeah. And yeah, I know I have a similar one to Mad Turnip. Is I've gone for the whole franchise and minor canon, major canon, or non-canon, etc., etc. I've considered that.
Non-canon. Ooh. I wonder if any of your picks fall on that. That would be interesting.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Olympus, would you like to go first?
Okay, so I've tried to order these, and I can guarantee you now that by the time we finish this segment of going through our top 5 each, my top 5 will have changed order again. Okay, because they've changed. I've actually, just in the space of the last 2 minutes, I've already changed my second and first place. So it's probably going to change again a bit. But it's locked in now. So number 5 is from a new Trek, believe it or not, from Discovery Season 1, Gabriel Lorca. Now, for anyone who hasn't watched Discovery before, again, almost in a very similar vein to Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, it gets a bit of a bad rep for several different things. And what I did from the very start with this season was, or with the series, I should say, was I tried to look at it as outside of Trek and just thought, this is a new sci-fi show. Let's sit down, watch it, and see how I get on with it. And up until the later seasons, I thoroughly enjoyed it, because by the time you get to later seasons, it really they do something crazy with it, and I understand why, but I won't get digressed by that. I'll pull back in. Season 1 establishes characters in a very, very good way for me, and my favourite from the word go was Gabriel Lorca, who I believe is introduced in episode 3. When Michael Burnham first boards the USS Discovery, and he comes across as this very mysterious, almost dark person with quite a almost traumatized past, and there's more to him. There's a lot of depth behind this guy that you want to understand and learn about, and as you run through the season, you eventually come to a point where they're catapulted into the mirror universe, and you suddenly realize all these little hints that they've been throwing at you throughout the last, I don't know, I think it was 10 or 12 episodes that you hadn't noticed were hints at the time, all come together, and you see what Lorca actually is. It was a brilliant piece of media making, and the twist that they flung in for him was utterly phenomenal. I didn't see it coming until it was happening, and it's been a long time since I've watched something that's done that for me. I've always been able to tell ahead of time what's coming for quite some time now. So the actor, very, very well known. He's done a lot of other things. Draco Malfoy's father Lucius in Harry Potter as a big one, and he plays the part so well, and it just hit home. And as it's like I'm already talking about it, and I'm like, really, he should be number 3, number 2 on my list now. Actually, I'll maybe move him up. No.
We'll have to have a go at number top 5 captains at some stage and see if he gets in there.
Yeah, he will. No spoilers.
And if anybody gets this reference, hello to Jason Isaacs.
Absolutely.
If you don't know the reference, leave it at.
Absolutely. No, so yeah, I'll try not to talk much more, but definitely one of my top 5 for villains, but absolutely one of my top captains as well.
Yeah. No, I remember him. It's like a bit harsh, but he did get the job done. I did like the actor.
You think that he's a captain who's been changed by war, and he's driven by war. You don't expect it to turn the way it does, and he's actually come from the mirror universe, and that's why he's the way he is. You don't expect that at all.
It's a beautiful bait and switch.
It really is. And as I say, a lot of people hate on Discovery for a lot of different reasons. For me, the first couple of seasons are brilliant in their own way. They are fantastic Star Trek, and Jason Isaacs was absolutely pivotal to kicking that off. Him and Michelle Yeoh, who plays Philippa Georgiou. I could have put her as a flipping villain.
You've still got time to change. Matter.
Right.
Any more comments on?
Is she a villain or is she an anti-hero?
There's a good question, actually. That's a very, very good shout. And it is funny you should say that, because one of the villains that I have, who I've not got on my list, that I'm going to hopefully talk about at the end, I've got that very question. Are they a villain or are they an anti-hero? Because you can look at them either way. I guess we'll find out in section 31 whenever they release that.
Yeah.
What's your number 5, Matt?
So my number 5 is Armus, who was the TNG episode Skin of Evil, I think. That was just a pile of black goo. I think in the episode the idea was that it was a race had transcended and basically got rid of all their evil, which had just sort of coalesced into this pure evil being, which I kind of figured that talking villains, you can't really go sort of past one that is pure evil. Also, killed a main character, which I don't think was something and actually killed, like properly not coming back, no Genesis device, no other stuff, which I think was probably the first time that they'd really kind of done that.
Yep.
Obviously, lots of red shirts had bitten the dust, but this was a real. Oh no, this is someone that is like legitimately part of the series is now gone. Obviously, there was stuff going on in the episodes where they'd written and stuff, but yeah, I remember that being quite a sort of a powerful thing that it kind of actually took away a character. There was not that they ever really came back to that, but there was actually stakes in this universe. Things could happen, things could go wrong. I thought
even if there was a reason for it, it still added the stakes to it for a while.
I remember watching this episode and my first feelings were, oh my god, is she okay? Oh my god, they can't kill her. And then when it settled in and I realised that she was dead, I thought, oh my god, they've done Denise Crosby in here. Like why take her out like that? I was
never a big fan of Tasha Yar. I do like Tasha Yar back in that where the Enterprise
when the Enterprise C? What's that called again?
Yesterday's Enterprise.
Yes, that's one. Yesterday's Enterprise.
She is fantastic in that, and actually the could be later in the list potentially when she then plays her own daughter as the Vulcan. Not Vulcan. Sorry, the Romulan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant way to bring her back there.
I can't actually remember the name, which probably gives away that she's not in the rest of my list. But
that's one Empress Sela.
Yes.
And I remember playing with. Sorry, go on.
No, after you, mate.
I was about to say I remember Sela coming into Star Trek Online a lot and playing it with Olympus.
Yeah.
I don't know if you play Star Trek Online at all, Matt.
I've played bits. I never quite got my head into it.
Well, that Romulan arc, it's the second arc in the game, and as Ben says, lots of Empress Sela in it, and it's actually really good. It builds on the Hova Supernova storyline and the aftermath of that. But yes, again, Denise Crosby playing that character very, very well. I was gonna ask you something. It's just gone out of my head there. I'll see if I can think about it again. But it's just that's what it was. It wasn't a question. It was just a comment. At the time, I think I preferred because I agree with you. Yesterday's Enterprise version of Tasha Yar was phenomenal. Denise Crosby acted it out of the park. In the first season or so before she jumped ship, then maybe not so much. But I remember that the one character on the bridge that always really annoyed me was Diana Troy. In the first season, it was just so overacted, and it must have been the direction she was getting, because it was overacted to the point that I was cringing every episode at it, and she was annoying me. But by the time you get to season 3, it's like she's found her place and the direction settled down, and she's a lot better. And I guess if you compare,
is that when Roddenberry had taken his hands off it?
Possibly, actually, it might have been
2 or 3. Yeah.
Oops, sorry, Roddenberry. It could have been, because when I compare Denise Crosby's Tasha in Skin of Evil to Troy at season 3 onwards, then I'd say 100% I prefer Troy. But if I was to compare Tasha to Troy at Skin of Evil, I prefer Tasha.
Yeah. And actually, thinking about bringing it back to Armis, what did you think about? Think about the Troy scene with Armis in the shuttle pod, I believe.
Yeah. It really just helped to round everything out. It was, yeah.
I felt like it was almost trying to put give a human side to Armis, because he was just this black blob of evil, as you said before, Turnip. So it was like, for me, it was the director's way of trying to get some human emotion and feeling or whatnot into that character. Maybe. Did it work well? I don't know. Maybe not, but I can see what they were trying to do.
I mean, it's one of those things that the best villains are always the heroes in their own story.
Absolutely, that's great. Actually, yeah, absolutely.
And I think my pick may come under that. Hopefully.
What
if
is
you don't
your
mind this.
Yeah. Beautiful segue in.
Absolutely, go
Thank
for
you.
it, Ben.
Yeah. So, my ones round off a Star Trek round, and it is a species from Star Trek Voyager. They are the Vidians. So, they are a species that started off as like educationists and explorers, and then they ended up with a disease
All
called
the
the phage.
phage ones. Yeah.
Yeah, and you see them was looks like rotten skin and stuff. And when you first meet them, they are taking body parts from other species. So yeah, basically they go out to get new body parts for themselves because the disease has been ravaging their body so much. They've basically learned forgot how to care about other people. It's needs and bonus, and it's like basically for them to get themselves better, get themselves well, keep themselves alive, and it's like something they needed, but unfortunately to a bad degree, in my opinion. And it's like from what they told in the story, yeah, they started off as educated people, explorers, philosophers, stuff like that, and it's like in my opinion, it should have been like the main villains for like the first couple of seasons of Voyager, and would have been nice to keep meeting them. In my opinion, they did get a good arc. If I can cut to the end, because you did hear them in, I think it's called the episode Think Tank, that somebody has actually managed to cure them and the disease. So hopefully they can get themselves together. And it's a species I would definitely like to hear from again.
Yeah, it was obviously like that whole kind of body horror thing of like stealing organs and like just leaving. It sort of ties back into that old kind of what's the sort of horror story of like being kidnapped and left in a bath of ice without your kidneys. That kind of it brings up that kind of a fairly visceral kind of feel. I agree. They were pretty terrifying.
It was.
Yeah. So yeah.
I was going to add it. The Vidians for me reminded me. It's the first species that I can think of that brought that horror-esque element to Star Trek after the Borg.
Yeah, and yeah, no, I agree. I think that's one thing that interested me as well. It was just like they had a reason. There was a bit of horror as well. I loved it. As them as a species. Yeah.
Yeah. I was probably going to reiterate more than anything else, but the fact that you can almost relate to them makes them very powerful.
And yeah, I know there was an episode involving the Doctor talking to one of them. There's a hologram, and you got to see them normally, and somebody who actually wasn't just going out there stealing body parts from anybody. It's
yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I like that one.
That is a very good pick. I think the fact that we're all a little bit sort of like, because it's reminding me. I remember that.
Yeah.
To be honest, probably some of my least favorite episodes of Voyager, because I'm not a big horror buff. But some of my least favorite episodes, not because the episodes were bad, but because of how they made me feel, how that species made me feel.
I just remember the kind of their tricorder things are really spiky, just really,
They had that snappy lightning thing at the end of it as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
That's actually a shame that Voyager didn't manage to get any of their equipment, just as some sort of deal, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. The tech was advanced. It was very advanced. I remember them mentioning. Good choice, Ben.
Thank you. So, I think we're full circle again. So, Olympus, what's your number 4 pick?
So number 2, I'm going to stick with Star Trek. We're going to go with Data's brother, Lore. Was he misunderstood? No, he was just a dick. Pure and simple. Again, I'll remember. I can't remember the name of the episode, but it was the episode with you come across a crystalline entity. It's the first one that you see Lore. And they find him on the planet that Data was found on. You see Data's connection with him right away as they're reassembling him, and Data's want and need almost to have this companion, I guess, with him to sort of learn the ropes and whatnot. And from the moment Lore's activated, you start to see that power struggle instantly between the two of them. Data not on purpose, but Lore very much trying to manipulate things to his advantage. And again, I think it was, I might be wrong here, I might be misquoted, but I'm pretty sure that was the first episode I remember Picard going, "Shut up, Wesley," multiple times when Wesley's trying to flag up that Data isn't actually Data, this is Lore. No one was believing the poor kid. But Lore, I think, is a brilliant villain, recurring character, obviously, keeps coming back for more. And Brent Spiner, hat off to his acting skills for being able to pull off 2, let's look into the future, multiple versions of different characters at a whim.
And I think that the one that really is actually Picard, with playing the same thing opposite and back and forth, and just being clearly 2 different people when it is phenomenal.
Utterly phenomenal. God, it's just he is an actor and a half, and he's so talented. He made Data his own, and I am so glad that he was able to, get that reprise in Picard and round that story off post Nemesis. And there's me digressing again on Data, because again, Data is one of my most favorite characters in the whole of Star Trek. His brother, poor misunderstood, not Lore. He's definitely in my top 5. I'd say he's number 4. He's a cracking villain. He's very convincing. He's manipulative. He's intelligent, and definitely probably one of the more difficult foes that the Enterprise D ever came across. It's a shame that we never saw more of him.
Is 3 or 4 episodes, I think, something like that, because I think there was a 2-parter. But
there was a 2-parter, which involved the Borg as well.
Yeah, Hugh, I think.
First appearance of Hugh. Yeah.
Yes.
Is it?
No.
Oh no, it's the second appearance.
Second appearance of Hugh.
Yeah. Oh.
I forgot Hugh was in that.
Yeah, so did I.
Another reprisal of Picard.
It was a weird shaped cube, like that. Well, not a cube. It was a It
was almost like a rectangle with a little bit that came off of the side of it, wasn't it? In fact, I think you can get that ship in Picard, and not Picard, Star Trek Online.
Oh, yeah. So I'll have to take notes of that. You'll find out why later.
Cool, brilliant. So there you have it. Lore at number 4.
Nice.
Good, and it rhymes. Shall we
totally
go?
Did that on purpose.
So I'm moving over to Star Wars for my number 4 pick. And this is where, as I said, if you take this character on the most well-known aspect, cool, but not a lot there. But when you add in the rest of the canon, fantastic character, and the fact that there wasn't much there from its original, his original sort of viewing, to be then fleshed out in such a way shows how much potential there was in that first hit. And if I just go, zoom, zoom.
Yes.
Darth Maul.
What a choice.
Fantastic, fantastic character. Obviously played Ray Park, phenomenal martial artist, really good, but voiced by Peter Serafinowicz, who I've a lot of time for. He's hilariously funny, especially in Spaced, which is another fantastic series if you haven't watched that. But yeah, Darth Maul. So like, I said, remember watching episode 1 in the cinema and seeing this dark hood, and when it pulls back with the horns and the fate, it's just fantastic.
Duel of Fates playing in the background.
Yeah, the dual lightsaber, that kind of caged animal feel, and just nice little thing with sort of when they were doing the makeup. At one point, they forgot to take Ray Park's earring. He's got a top ear piercing. Forgot to take it out, and that became canon. So if you see Darth Maul in any of the animated series or things like that, sort of following on, he's got the ear piercing, which I thought was a really nice little touch.
I have to look out for that now.
But yeah, so to be a sort of a minor-ish villain in the episode 1, to then being killed at the end of it, and then be brought back with robot legs were cool. And then if you go through, I think it's Clone Wars.
It is.
And other,
bit of Rebels at the end as well.
Yeah, and then come into Mandalorian, and that is the sort of starting to run an entire criminal empire, still sort of both battling the quote unquote good guys, but also battling against the Sith because he feels let down, and that it's just a fantastically nuanced character with just the most phenomenal design. I think from any of my list, bar maybe one, I think is probably actually no, they're all quite recognizable design, but like it's something that anybody will see this and go, oh yeah, that's the double lightsaber, and the double lightsaber being probably the second coolest lightsaber after Mace Windu's purple one.
Agreed. And he's also got a Khan moment as well, doesn't he? With his Kenobi. Speaking of which, what did you think about his final scene in Rebels? Him and Kenobi's standoff.
Yeah, it's not one I'm that familiar with. I've only seen it once, and I'm struggling to bring it back, I will admit. It's for me because I've seen it twice, I think, and it's actually kind of heartbreaking for Maul. Obviously it's the end of his road. Going into it, he's either they're going to depart or Maul's dead, because canon wise what's happening in the timeline. Yeah,
and Kenobi, obviously, I think Maul just approaches him as, oh, you're an old wizened guy out in the sand, like lost your way, you're worth nothing now, and totally underestimates him. And Kenobi basically feints him with his master's moves, and that's how he gets him in just one swoop. And that's the heartbreaking bit for Maul to end like that. Was just it was beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time. I'll find the episode and I'll let you know. It's definitely worth watching. It's a good one. Especially when you shed a tear from Maul.
Who is definitely worth it. I will say.
Definitely.
Even as number 4 pick.
Who knew watching episode 1 that all these years later we would be talking about a character that has evolved so much since then?
Exactly. But I think that's the beauty of that first, is that there was clearly something there, even if it was underutilized, that has then spawned this kind of more fleshed out, more interesting character.
Oh, and he was teased in Solo. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah.
Yes, right at the end. And I was tempted just to do it something from that bit as well. Rewatch Solo deliberately because I was going, I want something from Solo, but luckily I had heard rumours that he was in the cartoon, how he'd come back in the cartoon series, various cartoon series, and so I wasn't as surprised as I should have been, but still a surprising moment when it was just like, hang on, you're back in live action.
Yeah.
So
well, Ben,
what's your number
on
4?
to you now, yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm going to Star Wars this time, but I know one of you should know who this group is. I'm not sure if both of you do. It's the Eternal Empire. So
I recognise that.
Yeah. So, if you're a bit of heads up, they're quite a few thousand years before the current timeline of Star Wars. They're
Of
from
course.
the
Knights
game
of the Old
Star Wars:
Republic.
The Old Republic.
Yeah, I'm with you now.
Oh,
I'm with you now.
the MMO version of Knights of the Old Republic. They were parts of the expansion for the MMO, Knights of the
Okay.
Fallen Empire and Knights of the Eternal Throne. I wrote that down deliberately there, just so I could remind myself, because I knew I would forget the exact titles. But your character comes across this organization that's been hiding away in unknown space for quite a while, and you've gone out to search for the emperor, basically the Sith emperor, and you actually find out that the emperor of the Eternal Empire is basically the same person, but they're using a different body, and you end up meeting with him. He ends up dying, and the essence of the Emperor goes into your character. That character could be a light side character or a dark side character, a smuggler or a bounty hunter or a Sith or a Jedi, depending what character you pick. And basically you end up going into stasis for a carbonite for 5 years, and then coming back and then fighting him as a Force ghost. So you fight his son Arkan, you fight his daughter Valen. You end up fighting a lot of his troops, and it actually had a reason. Even though it wasn't like much of an open area to team up with people, there was a lot of content with these, and I'd say one of the best villains that are not your normal Empire and your normal.
So
that's not your normal Empire.
So just to clarify here, is the villain you're talking about Valkorion, aka the Sith Emperor, or is it the
whole organization?
The whole Zakul organization,
yeah.
Right? Cool. It's just the entire Eternal Empire, basically. I love that. And as soon as you mentioned it, and I clicked, I thought, why did I forget about the Old Republic? There's so many good villains in that. But to back you up, for me, the Knights of the Eternal Empire and Knights of the Eternal Throne, Fallen Empire and Eternal Throne, sorry, they are the best stories in Star Wars: The Old Republic since the original 8 class quests when they first launched the game. They're so good. The characters are great, but their villains are brilliant. And Valen, if you ever play this, honestly, watch out for Valen. She is nuts.
Yeah, it definitely is in a fun villain way.
Very much so.
I loved it. They started bringing back the don't call them raids in
Flashpoints.
Flashpoints. They had like many of them, and the big on versions, which I suddenly forgot the names of. Operations. Thank you. Which involved the gods of the planets, the old gods, which were like mechanized droids. Which
Iokath. You're talking about the planet Iokath.
Iokath, yeah. Which, where basically the gods are so cool as well. So there's lots of bits that are related, and it was like nice that it's like they're a couple of or at least one of the characters to appear previously breaks you out from a carbonite, and basically you can go either dark or light, or you can basically end up taking over the whole empire yourself if you wanted to.
Nice. Yeah, no, never played that. I played Knights of the Old Republic, way back when.
Phenomenal classic game, KOTOR.
So yeah, this is I'm not sure how many hundreds of years after, but it is a few hundred years after. I'd
say play KOTOR, then play KOTOR 2, but play it with the restored content mod on it. Then play Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic, because the Jedi Knight storyline at the start of Knights of the Old Republic. So if you play Jedi Knight, that's basically KOTOR 3.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, that's my fourth pick, the Eternal Empire.
Good
from,
choice.
Swotal.
And I'm now questioning all my life choices, or at least my villain choices. I'm like, why did I not think games? Serves me right for having such a closed mind when I was putting this list together. Not very closed-minded at all. Mine number 3, if we're ready for it. Khan. Both versions. So I'm going to go with both versions here. Same character, different universes, but it's the same guy. Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, which is the one I know Khan from. He's I've gone quiet. I'm trying to describe this. He's not evil. Again, it's one of those bad guys that you can almost relate to in certain ways, but he's such a... How do I put this? He's such a vengeful character. I think the entire movie in Star Trek 2 is just based on him getting his vengeance against Kirk. So actually, I take back what I said at the very start there, because he is evil.
Yeah.
He's purely there is
a nuance to that one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it obviously first introduced in original series.
See, that's the part of him I don't know.
Yeah.
And it was like, so they're even referenced at various other points about why genetic modification was shut down, because these race of super soldiers that then tried to take over everything.
The eugenics wars.
Yeah, so they were just like, oh, actually, we can do this better than everyone else, which, yeah, fair enough. But obviously they were kicked off, sent stasis, and picked up, and they were put on the planet and then forgotten about. And that's obviously Khan's whole deal in Wrath of Khan, is that no one bothered to check on them, and the whole planet just went down the pan.
And that's the thing. I think if no one Starfleet, bad on them for not checking up on them. I totally agree. But if it stayed as a lush M-class planet that they left him on, then it probably wouldn't have been quite such a bad thing. But with the whole planetary orbit completely shifting because another planet collided or whatever happened, and then turning into an absolute barren desert, you kind of see why he's a bit pissed off. Generally get that. And it just goes on this total vengeful kick for Kirk. But there's the almost Shakespearean classical acting behind him was not something you see a lot of, especially nowadays. I really enjoyed it because everything he said, everything he did was very thought through. And again, this is the English literature side of me coming out with my degree and whatnot, but I just loved it.
Montalban? That was...
Sounds about right.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I think so. You say it.
What was his first name?
Oh,
we're all Googling now, guys.
Yeah. One thing I found out about him...
Was it Ricardo Montalban?
Oh, possibly. Not sure.
I'm dyslexic, so trying to remember. So actually, Googling isn't helping me because I can't spell it. But I think it was Ricardo Montalban.
I have to look on that. But I found out he appeared in one of the... I'm having my mind blank now. A second mind blank. Planet of the Apes films. Planet of the Apes films, I believe.
Ricardo Montalban. Sorry, Ben.
No, you got that before me. That's right.
And then I've got to bring up one of my favourite actors, modern day, Benedict Cumberbatch. His portrayal of Khan being obviously in that version of Star Trek quite a modern spin on the franchise, but I thought he played him absolutely brilliantly. Again, very nuanced. You can understand where he's coming from a bit more for me than I could with the original Khan. And you see a lot more of his brutality as well in Star Trek Into Darkness. His manipulations too, and his intelligence, he showcases that a lot more. Even if you think to the way that he manipulates who I'm going to call Mickey the Idiot, for anyone who watches Doctor Who, at the start of Star Trek Into Darkness, the character that blows himself up in the Section 31 archives
yes.
place. So he also plays a character called Mickey in Doctor Who. So though even the way Khan manipulates him at the very start, gives him the cure to save his child's life. In return, you blow yourself up and blow up this place because I need you to do for my bigger plan. It's just he screamed Khan all over. I loved that portrayal of him. He was brilliant too. So I think between the two of them, I prefer Benedict Cumberbatch, but I loved both of them. And yeah, definitely number 3 for me. Although again, I'm looking at number 2 now. I'm like, I could switch you.
Yeah, no, I agree. I liked both characters, even though I wasn't a big fan of the role reversal of Kirk and Spock in Into Darkness.
Agreed.
I did like the journey of Khan through this, his motivations, and the whole first 3 quarters I loved, and including the end part for Khan as well. I did like.
Although, where I didn't like the role reversal, sorry, I'm digressing again. Where I didn't like the role reversal of who died, inverted commas, and how they brought said person back, by the way, as well. That was a little bit okay. Sure. What I did like was how that allowed Zachary Quinto to portray a Vulcan going absolutely mental, which you don't see too often. It really showcased
half Vulcan.
Half Vulcan, true. Half Vulcan, which actually you could say makes him even more volatile. True enough. I just thought it very nice to it was an opportunity within the Kelvin timeline to see a Vulcan or a half Vulcan struggle with the emotional side of himself.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. So I suppose we'll go to
over to Turnip.
Matt. Yeah.
So actually, I'm sticking with Wars for my number 3 pick. And again, a little bit of a sidestep. Jabba the Hutt.
I didn't expect that. Like it. What a choice.
Again, a lot of this comes down to the way that one character has evolved from being a thing in one to being spread across the entire sort of extended canon in various different ways, even to because obviously so if you've ever seen any of the original unused video, Jabba the Hutt was just supposed to be sort of a human looking in a fur waistcoat, basically. And then in the Star Wars remasters, they kind of did a digital version of Jabba over, which doesn't quite work. But Return of the Jedi, again, a film that I watched to death as a child. Probably before I should have done, but it was the 80s. It was a different time. Just this amazing bit of puppetry and animatronics. This just hulking creature, so separate from a lot of the older, science fiction, where it's all very much humanoid in various ways, and you can kind of see the old Doctor Who with someone with rubber gloves on and a colander on their head.
Yep.
This was clearly an alien, something different. The non-English, which as a kid I'd never really experienced films in other languages. No, this. Even though this is obviously Huttese, not an actual thing, but having that kind of translation, that bit more menacing of like, they're not even, you're here to deal with him. He's not going to bother putting himself down to your level. The kind of the evil, the little creature that I can't remember the name of.
The
monkey
lizard thingy.
Yeah.
Monkey lizard.
Monkey lizard, yeah.
Yeah.
Hands off the monkey lizard.
Just a fantastic, just grotesque, but clearly powerful creature. It was just fantastic. And then obviously the kind of the spread of the Hutt being a full sort of full mafia gang, references to it in episode 1, seeing I think the Hutts were waving in the pod racing.
Yeah.
obviously after his death and the Mandalorian then takes over and there's more huts and stuff in there. It's just that really, again, it's taking that one idea and saying there's something in there. Let's make this. And it's just maybe not the most terrifying when you look back on it now, but as a kid, that was a really, oh my god, this is someone to be terrified of. This is a really, in a fantastic, in a car, like in their own castle, their own palace. So maybe a little bit a sidestep, but I Jabba the Hutt's my number 3.
What a choice! I love that. I never would have thought about it, and you're absolutely right. Again, Return of the Jedi is not one that I probably should have been watching in the mid-90s when I was only 7 or 8, but I was. And of the 3, that's the one that I kept watching most. And I'll always, in particular, is that fight scene with Jabba and Luke and everyone at the start of the movie that I always remember most out of that movie, believe it or not. Don't know where I was going with that, lost track, but yes, love the choice. Absolutely love that choice. Again, one I wouldn't have thought of.
And I like the other things that they brought into it, like the barges, the Sarlacc pit.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
that could be a villain in its own right.
So he's got like the Twi'leks doing his bidding. He's got the Rancor in the pit below. That's got she gets Solo out of the carbonite, and it's just black, and then you just hear his laugh. That kind of, it's just fantastic.
That was a proper creepy moment. I forgot about that. Wow. You know what I'm going to be watching tonight.
Oh, no, I'm glad you brought that up. Shall I go into some other villainous behaviour then?
Go for it.
So, I'm going to go back to Star Trek on this one. I'm going to go... I was going to say I was not going to do species, but my way out of not doing species with this one is the Cardassian Union, rather than the Cardassians.
Union, nice. Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. Yeah, did good there.
Yeah, the government. No, so for those who are not in the know, but they are a race that basically took over a planet and enslaved a planet for 50 to 70 years, depending on where you look for your sources and canon. But
Bajorans.
Took over the Bajorans as basically a slave race, got them to work in the mines. There was this resistance movement in the Bajorans to take over, stop the invasions. So in my head, it's like very Nazi, French resistance, Pole, sort of like relations there. And you've got some really mean, well-written characters in there, including Cut, who is one of my favourite villains of all time, but just pure evil. And even at one stage, Cut, he looked like he was being redeemable at one stage, partway through the range of Deep Space Nines. It's one of a species you definitely love to hate, and it's not just like stereotypically big bad. It's they did flesh them out a little bit more than some bad guys or bad races I've seen in the years.
I mean, arguably, you say they occupied the different species on Bajor. One of the episodes, they're actually from the same core race. The one with Cisco and his son using the solar powered spaceship, basically.
Yes.
Solar winds. One. Yeah, and they get themselves to Cardassia, and it looks like actually it was Bajorans that ended up on Cardassia Prime and became Cardassians, potentially.
That's hinted, enough. Isn't it? It is hinted. Yeah. I love Cat. Again, one of my favourite characters out of DS9. And what I love about him is one again, acting phenomenal. Can't remember the actor's name, but he was brilliant. But
Mark the main
Mark Alimo.
Awesome.
Sounds about something like that. Somebody put it in the chat below.
Please and thank you. Yes, he's just. Again, I'm losing my words here. It's this time of night now. That's terrible. He is so consumed with progressing Cardassia, and that's why I don't quite see him as evil. I'm gonna disagree slightly on that, because up until last season, or tail end of second last season into last season, because then the whole power wraith thing comes into it, and yeah, you then have a question of, is it him, is it not him, what's going on, he's being a bit evil. But generally, I just find him as someone who's trying to progress a Cardassian way and a Cardassian motive. So villain, yeah. Evil, not so sure. And I like how they flesh him out throughout the seasons as well. Hated what he did to Jadzia.
Oh, yeah.
I would also say, if you're talking about Cardassians, the Simple Tailor, fantastic anti-hero.
Garrick.
And also, but that whole kind of, there's the Cardassian Union, but there's also, what's the
True Way.
Down.
No, the military
Obsidian Order.
Obsidian
That's
Order.
the one.
There's some fantastic moments in there with Elin. So it's
Elin Garrick.
Elin Garrick,
Yeah.
and what was his father?
Brattain.
Brattain. Yeah.
I forgot about those episodes.
Some fantastic stuff with I mean, the Cardassians were TNG. Obviously, actually Mark Alamo as well, and one of the original Cardassians in there. A different Gull, but yeah. Or arguably in some spirit like sides of the internet, the same Gull just using a different name.
Could be.
Yeah. But yeah, some fantastic. There's a couple of really good TNG episodes with these, with all the Bo Laren. It's very much French resistance, very much a kind of a Nazi occupation vibe. Can be truly terrifying. I think that's a solid pick.
And again, Ro, for anyone who hasn't seen Picard yet, got onto Picard for the 3 seasons. She gets a reprise too.
Yeah, third season of Picard is probably one of the best. I wouldn't say it's the best season of Trek, but I would say it's the best story arc of pretty much any Trek series.
Yes, 100% agree.
Honest, there's not much else to say about that. I think you've all covered it, but also that one I want to bring up as well about the Cardassians was the one with Picard with the 4 lights.
Yes,
there were 5 lights.
There is 5 lights. But that from a sort of a PTSD and a trauma point, that's a phenomenal episode. That is a phenomenally acted episode on both parts, but just a simple yet just terrifying. Looking at sort of post-traumatic stress and interrogation and all that, it's just crazy.
Yeah, for Picard to admit at the end to, I think it was Troy, that he actually believed that there were 5 lights at the end of it. That's what scared me the most. That's how they ended the episode. I just sat there and then staring at it going, what? It really opens your eyes.
To be honest, I did find that Picard actually talking at the end with Troy more creepy or more scary at the end. Mm-hmm. It's like, what I was finding in the actual bit, because it's like, it makes it more real. It makes it feel, made it feel more real to me. So that was my number 3 pick.
Nice.
And back to the start. I'm hoping it's on the same position on the cameras for you, because I'm pointing there from my point of view.
Number 2. Darth Vader. I've gone Star Wars. I will tell you guys now, this is my only Star Wars pick, which was tough because Ben will tell you I love Star Wars. But I think I just find Star Trek villains overall a bit more, I don't know, convincing, more nuanced, more fleshed out, more impactful in a lot of different ways, I guess. That, and up until recently, there was a lot more Star Trek media than there was Star Wars media. So that's probably a big part of it as well, to be fair. Yep. Vader, you know, he was my number one that I moved down to number two just as we were starting the episode. Again, you know, really good villain across the original trilogy. Having the prequels, which I'll forever be grateful for, even episode 1, despite Jar Jar, is just to give that opportunity for that character to be fleshed out more and understand his background and connect the dots that were referenced in the original trilogy were beautiful. He is probably my third favorite Star Wars character of all time, and that's because with the full Star Wars media around Vader that we've got now, from a canon perspective, it's understanding where he came from, his story, his humanity, and how he basically turned through fear of losing everything that he loved and cared for. I mean, most people can relate to that in one sense or another. You would do, for example, if you're a father, you would do anything for your kids. You know, I've got a 3-year-old, so I relate to that quite well now. So I totally get what he was like, where his head was at, and how he turned, and to see the brutality afterwards. In some senses, you could see that because he's totally turned and he's evil now. But on the other hand, you could look at it in the way I see it more as he's lost everything. He's got nothing left apart from what he is now. And his hatred for himself, for what he believed he did and what he actually did, that fuels him on. And in Obi-Wan Kenobi season 1, I hope there's a season 2 that comes, fingers crossed. Love that series. Being able to see that brutality when he's marching, I can't remember what planet they were on, but Obi-Wan's hiding in one of the houses, and Vader's marching down, and he's literally it's brutality almost equivalent to what he did in the flipping Jedi Temple. When
there's one word, younglings.
Yeah, younglings. Youngling 3000 here, and he's just instantly grabbing people with the Force, snapping their necks, kids, and flinging them out, and you're just like, holy shit, this guy means fucking business. Just seeing that level of brutality really brings home how villainous he is at that point in his life. Truly brilliant villain. The atmosphere, the costume, the acting, again, his stance, his posture, just screams this strong, powerful character that you do not want to mess with. And almost every single scene that I can think of with Vader in it, you know he means business. You don't want to mess with him. And the last scene I'll leave you with is Solo, which I never expected. I never expected it. Right at the end, dark tunnel, all of the rebels sort of with their guns going, what the hell's going to come up here? And then just that red shining light that blings up out of the blue. It was gorgeous. And that's not the last scene I'm going to leave you with, because I'm going to leave you with one that just hyped me up even more, which was episode 4 or 5 of Ahsoka that we've just had. Have either of you seen Ahsoka yet?
I have.
I've been holding off a little.
Then I'm not going to say anything, but oh my god.
I will say it does obviously help with having the fantastic pipes of James L. Jones.
Oh yes.
Was it something Prowse? If you, again, watch some of the before they dubbed him over, because he's it was a West Country, and give me the plans of that rebel base. That's a lot less terrifying.
That sounds funny. We'll need to find that link.
I don't know if he was from Somerset, but I've just got a Somerset accent in my head now with
I
stereotypical.
think he was Bristolian, actually. I think.
That's a fair
Brilliant.
enough.
Yeah.
Honestly, if he's Bristolian, I should know about that because some of my family are from there. So yeah, but, look at that. But yeah, you will probably find out my connection to that at some point this evening or
Yeah,
today. Or
David Prowse. Yeah, he was a Bristolian.
fair enough.
So I guess
Cool.
there's the last question. End scene of Return of the Jedi, the remastered versions, they switch out the original actor with Hayden Christensen. Do we like that?
But that wasn't even Prowse. That was another actor that I can't remember the name of.
Was that another? I didn't even realise that.
Yeah, it was a different.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
So Prowse was the body of Vader for a large chunk of it, and then obviously it was dubbed over Jones and there was a third actor that was once the helmet came off, and then it was Hayden Christensen kind of wiped out.
There you go, learned something new. Didn't realise that.
Yeah, no, I to be honest, when I got into watching the films, the first time I saw those ghosts were the dubbed version. So for me, it was Hayden Christensen already. But yeah, I can imagine being a fan and getting annoyed. But yeah. So
see, I actually quite like it, but I guess that's maybe because like when I was a kid, you didn't have the original the prequel trilogy yet. It was my early teens, I think, when episode 1 first came out. At least double check that.
2000s, I believe.
But yeah, so I guess I'm more related to the prequels than the originals, which is probably why I prefer Hayden Christensen turning up at the end of that. But
prequels came out in the 90s.
Was it was Revenge of the Sith 98 or
might have been?
I'm pulling out Google again.
It was definitely. I would have said 93 for episode 1, give or take.
Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, 19th of May 2005.
Oh, really? Does it come out? Oh.
Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, 16th of July 1999.
Much later than I thought.
That's later than I thought as well, actually. Yeah.
And earlier than I thought.
Wow, well, when you think about the CGI in Revenge of the Sith,
great.
For 2005, that's phenomenal. Sorry, digression over again. Told you. I told you.
Now, so moving on to my second, I guess. Now, I will say I've moved back to Star Trek for my last two, but just mentioning that CGI, I will give an honourable mention to one I did consider, which was General Grievous.
Lovely.
As a beautiful picture, and with the multiple lightsabers he'd taken off Jedi's he'd killed as a nice sort of touch. But I am denied about this one because I think they are a fantastic villain. But whether they fell into the line of the kind of the species which I was avoiding, I wasn't sure. Now I can see a grin kind of starting across. It's the Borg Queen.
Good choice.
I denied, but I definitely thought it kind of stood on her own as a separate entity. Because if you take the drones, they're a very different kind of a very different physicality, a very different thing, just to the Queen itself, and the Queen being terrifying, those mind links, the kind of obviously first contact, but retconning into like best of both worlds with the kind of Locutus of Borg, that kind of thing. But I mean, just seeing the torso kind of with the spinal column kind of flicking around, and then kind of latching in, fantastic visual, absolutely fantastic visual, and a terrifying villain from is purely out and is damn near unstoppable if she wants to. There's sort of the mind connections. It takes the merest of like nanite to completely overwhelm somebody. So you can see from sort of first contact, there's kind of little bits come in, and you just see the veins, all the green,
all starting tendril all over them.
Yeah, and even when if you look at Picard, even when they've been cleared of that, she's still there. She's still in. She's still in there. That you can never fully, 7 of 9 and Hugh and all that kind of. They're still never free. She's still there. Yeah, just a truly awe-inspiring villainess, I guess.
Yeah, and we've had 3 actresses, I think, off the top of my head now, who've played the Borg Queen. Alice Krieg's the one that comes to mind. I think she was the first contact one.
4.
Yeah. So yeah, there was definitely
5, in
one.
fact.
Whoa, really?
There was
Alice
2
Krieg.
in Voyager.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Susan Thompson, Annie Wershing, Garth Kemp as the face, and Jane Edwina Seymour.
Wow.
But I'm not sure exactly which ones they're in, but that's Memory Alpha.
There you go. So I remember Alice Krieg's First Contact.
And then End of Voyager, I believe.
End of Voyager, and she reprises her role in Lower Decks as well. I'm 99% certain that's also Alice Krieg.
I think it was.
And I think, what did you say, something Thompson? She was the other one in, I think, the first one in Voyager, between the Alice Krieg ones.
Yes, Susanna Thompson.
Yeah. And, her and the Borg Queen trying to, I don't know if seduce is the right word, but it's like try to get 7 and 9 back to the collective. I can remember that.
It is. It's pure seduction.
Yeah.
Yeah, pure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's like, come back. You have the support that you're used to. I don't know the best wording for this, but it's like comfort of what you're used to. Come back here.
Resistance is futile.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to say, mother cares, but not in a good way.
Yeah.
So, a great pick. I love that.
Yeah. Me too. Honestly, the Borg Queen is. You've epitomized all of it. She's so creepy and dangerous, and it's end of the world level with her all the time. Because there's just absolutely no stopping her. She's up there with Vader.
It's that with the terrifying, but with the addition of that seduction and that appeal and that kind of enticement, which makes it.
She manages to convince Data, albeit for 2-point-something seconds, but she convinces him.
Yeah.
That's all it took.
Yeah.
Get those goosebumps going, Data.
Definitely. No, I've got to. Anyway, I'm not going to give away my picks yet, but do you want me to go on to my second pick while we're here?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, please.
And it does have a relation to one of your picks, and it is the Galactic Empire, or just people know as the Empire. So of Emperor Palpatine, Darth Vader, the ships. That's the one I was going to say. Thank you. I'm glad you can read my mind, because I had a mind blank there. Yeah, Grand Moff Tarkin. The ships are amazing. The big, like triangle Star Destroyers, Death Star. Just looks completely evil.
Yeah.
The generic white armor of the troopers, stormtroopers. Nearly called them Starship Troopers there, and it was like that would be an interesting crossover film. It is the organisation of villainy. It's your atypical villainous organisation, and it was just like, I loved it. And that meeting scene in episode 4, it's like A New Hope, and it was like when they're all Vader and Tarkin and that are all discussing and planning and deciding what was going on. It was just like, it was just everything about it that made me think villains, evil.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Yeah, even that. It's.
But yeah, to completely like wipe out an entire planet to prove a point.
Yeah, and you know what? Before they blow up Alderaan, you could watch it if you haven't watched the prequels. You could watch it and go, hang on a minute, you've got these flipping terrorists trying to run around destabilizing an entire galactic government here. What's going on? Like the Empire's the good guys. Then they blow up a planet and you go, oh, okay.
Yeah. It's. Yeah, no, it. There was one of my picks that I was going to be, and I was going to pick, and it was just like, I can't remember what it is now, but it was just like, these were the bad guys from the point of view of the Empire. They were chasing them around, and I will try to remember what that is for the end part, but it was just like, to be honest, I don't have much to add other than it's like, just the pure evil, pure nastiness. They just fitted in perfectly into that row.
100% agreed.
Yeah.
Number one.
Yeah, let's hear it. Are you right or wrong? This is going to be my we're wondering.
I think I'm wrong for you because we've already had this choice.
Ooh.
It's the Ball Queen.
Oh.
So not much else to add, to be honest. You've covered it off quite nicely when you were going through that, Turnip. But again, I just found the Ball Queen menacing, and then the Borg themselves so powerful and definitely scary. Again, you get the horror type feel in all the different episodes you see with the Borg. Even in Lower Decks, the whole sequence that they're doing in Lower Decks is quite comedic, but they still manage to keep a little bit of that creepiness in there, which is nuts, especially when Alex Krieg again lowers down and she's doing all this seductive stuff with Boimler, and it's like, that's funny, but creepy as fuck. And by the way, sorry guys, I'm going to have to put this as expletive down on flipping Spotify because it's the first episode that I've been so sweary. I don't mean it, I'm sorry. But yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I have. I was trying desperately not to swear.
And then you've heard me swearing all the time. You're like, oh, it's fine, it's good, we can go. Yeah, it's just the best bad guy in sci-fi for me. Is the Borg, but specifically the Queen, because she's the one that controls everything. And no matter how many times you kill her, she keeps coming back because time's relative, guys.
Yes. I'm gonna just put out there that Matt Turner. I'm gonna put my pick out there. I have got the Borg as my number one pick in general, and it's like, and I'm gonna just add to that. I think the creepiness of it was even more creepy when you don't have the Queen there, and it's just all the voices speaking and talking, and the sudden decisions like that to go, oh, it's there. Just made it very creepy and a very different alien species.
First contact after they destroy the sphere. And Picard is down on the planet at the Phoenix, walking around, and then he hears the voices again, and all of a sudden I go, oh no.
Yep.
Yeah.
Super creepy
it's that
moment.
fear. Definitely. And actually, going back to the Borg Queen, it's like in Voyager Unimatrix Zero, it's the way she sort of like had one bad drone, and it's like it's like just wipe out a cube.
Yeah.
Or go to a spear. It's just like,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, don't care. And it's and also
like a million drones, we can make more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Scary. That's scary.
It is.
Oh,
yeah, and those voices are like, resistance is futile, and You will be assimilated. I can't remember it exactly off the top of my head. Shame on me, but yeah.
We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. Your biological and technological... your biological and technological...
Your uniqueness will be added to our own.
Uniqueness will be added to our own. Your culture will adapt to service ours. Resistance is futile. Thank you for the save there. They should adapt it. The dark side is futile.
Yeah. Should have done that. Instead of having a crawl, we should have had like a resistance is futile adaptation to that beginning.
There's still time.
We can re-edit it.
yeah, why not? Sod it.
So that leaves the correct.
I was going to say, go on, tell us why we're wrong.
Actually, it's been partially mentioned previously, in fact, and I've been hinting through it. But the actual quote is, "One man's villain is another man's hero." Captain Gul Dukat. He is, I would arguably say, one of the best written characters in Star Trek. The best villain in many, many franchises. To go from and you said not evil. It really does fluctuate because there's everything from this man's arc from being trying to his own sort of feelings of failure, having the occupation ended, having done some horrendous things, which he justifies in that, you know, they were blowing stuff up. We were just trying to pass it. Yeah, not suggesting on his side in any of this, but there's that to having the daughter, so Zial, and all of the fight against the prejudice of that. Then taking over a Klingon bird of prey, becoming a freedom fighter, embodying everything that he fought against, and having this weird relationship with Kira Nerys, again, somebody that embodied everything that he fought against, to then becoming everything he wanted as the leader of his people, with the Dominion taking over and becoming the force that he believes his people should be, to then that coming crashing down to being possessed by demonic creatures to have a full good and evil battle for the ages. Just what isn't there of Gul Dukat's storyline that's just phenomenal?
You've convinced me. I forgot about his daughter. How could I forget about his daughter? And you know what? I'd forgotten about the Bird of Prey takeover. I'd forgotten so much of that. And there's a lot about his past before DS9 that I hadn't clicked. I've only watched DS9 all the way through start to finish once, and I've watched see 4 times. I don't blame you because the time I managed to get start to finish, I loved it, but it was that long ago. I've not retained a lot of it. I'm gonna have to go through it again.
I mean, you could honestly, I would say you could watch just the Dukat episodes and have a really fantastic kind of arc through.
Let's get those linked underneath the YouTube channel, Ben. All the Dukat episodes.
Don't take it.
And as you said, sort of Mark Alamo, fantastic actor, just brings. Oh, actually, the other one that it's him and Cisco just in a cave, and
yes.
There's this sort of battle of wits. They're both that neither of them can contact anything. It's waiting to see whose people are going to rescue them first, because that's the only thing that is separated. Just battle of wills across that. Phenomenal.
Oh, no, definitely. I can't disagree with that. He would have probably. I can't remember if he would have been my number 1 or number 2 with my picks, but it was just like, he was definitely a contender for me, along with like Kai Wynn and Darth Vader for me. For
Kai Wynn. Why didn't I think of Kai Wynn either? Jeez.
Kai Wynn is also a good shout.
He'd probably take Vader So he'd probably take my number 2 spot. I don't think he could take the Queen, but again, I think I've got too many ties to Picard. I love Picard too much. Like Jean-Luc Picard and the TNG side of things connected to the Borg. It's like,
Wynn, a fantastic character, but Wynn is duped by Ducat. Wynn's story is twisted and finished by Ducat. Yeah,
that's true. That's a fair argument.
Oh, well, actually, while we're on this topic, is there any other honourable mentions anybody's?
Do you want to go first, Turnip?
I did when I was thinking of Maul. I did flip between. Oh, my brain's gone. Christopher Lee.
Count Dooku.
Oh, Count Dooku. Again, beautiful lightsaber design with that kind of
the curved hilt.
Yeah, and Christopher Lee just badass, who was essentially the basis for like Bond and bits and pieces. And
yeah.
So Dooku again had more to do in the other, sort of other bits of media. I did when I moved away from doing sort of groups. The Breen are always a good one for villainous races. The Breen were pretty terrifying.
Yeah, definitely in those outfits.
We've still not seen a Breen with his helmet off, have we?
I don't think so. But I also do wonder, and I keep whether it's the same helmet in
Star Wars
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
it's the bounty hunter helmet.
It looks very similar, definitely.
Yeah.
So it should give some points for the outfit, to be honest, as a villain.
But the thing is, there are so many great villains in lots of these things. It's to knock it down to 5 was complicated.
Oh, definitely. It took me ages. Yeah. Anything else from you, Olympus?
Well, too many. I mean, Star Wars wise, one's already mentioned, including Grievous, Maul, Dooku, Ventress. She's got a very interesting twist in Clone Wars. Baylan Skoll, who I wouldn't class him so much a villain in Ahsoka, but he's definitely not a hero either. And that's all I'll say. Again, Ahsoka, I've not watched it yet, but honestly, Baylan Skoll, wow. The Witch Queen from the Night Sisters in the Clone Wars. Can't remember what her name or her title was now, but she was creepy, really good. And then if I jump into Star Trek, actually I have a list of the Star Trek ones. I mean, Narek from Picard season 1, who was good at the start and then he became a bit weak towards the end of season 1, to be fair. I had Armus on the list. Locarno, for anyone who has watched Lower Decks very recently. The Packlids, again from Lower Decks. I cannot believe that they threw the Packlids in as a bad guy. It was hilarious. The Herosian we've already mentioned. Nero from the Kelvinverse. Species 8472.
Yeah.
I mean, they were they were feared by the bloody Borg. The Zindi Guldacats on my list. And then species-wise, Romulans, Klingons, the Dominion, and then the last one, which needs to have a special mention. Again, one of my utmost favourite characters from Trek is Q, which I wouldn't say is a villain. Some people would argue it. I'd say anti-hero 100%. So this is what you were saying at the start, and I went, well, I've got an anti-hero as well. Q epitomises that, and I love the relationship that he builds with Picard over all the different seasons. And again, seeing that all culminating in the Picard series through season 2. I know season 2 of Picard was not the best, but I love what they did with Q and Picard specifically. The scenes with them together, I really enjoyed.
I will say with Q, much as I love Next Gen, another good reason why DS9 is superior is Picard never punched Q in the face.
That's true, and Cisco did.
No, I considered having Cisco as putting Cisco on my list because of a couple of things he did. The one killing all the Romulans, the wiping out of the planet with
the Marquis
Marquis on it. Yeah.
Could you describe Cisco as an anti-villain?
maybe for one of those, but yeah, it's
questionable hero.
Yeah,
definitely questionable hero. But that's what I like about Cisco, is he's not all clean cut, good versus bad, light versus dark. It's very grey, which is real life, isn't it?
Definitely. Just a few people I wanted to mention as well. Like I was thinking like Darth Malak or Darth Revan, the clown in Voyager from that single episode.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. And one that I know Matt will definitely know, and it's the parasitic beings from that went into the back of the net.
Yes.
With the spikes. Yeah.
Yeah. For Olympus, they're from the episode Conspiracy. And
so that's, I remember that. That's TNG season 1 off the top of my head, maybe season 2. Mm-hmm.
And if we ever do a lot more Star Trek adventures with Olympus, or you have a chance to do it, there is a lovely campaign that Modiphius do for it, which involves them.
They made a campaign in STA with those mother. Oh no! As long as they didn't make, I'll tell you what though, I can survive that as long as they didn't make a campaign with those creepy ass clowns from Voyager. You know, because that guy, he should have been a flipping villain because he was terrifying.
He's if you watch our stream at any point, quite often, especially for the sort of Halloweeny bits, that's my background. Is I've got the
nice.
I was about to try and change it on this, but it wouldn't let me.
Oh no, it's a really good pick. Well done.
Okay, shall we quickly round off our picks? Shall we do it in the same order? Olympus, what was your picks?
Yeah, so at number 5 I had Lorca. At number 4, Lore. Number 3 was Khan. Number 2 was Darth Vader. And number 1, the Bull Queen.
Number 5 I had Armus. At number 4 I had Darth Maul. At number 3 I had Jabba the Hutt. At number 2 I had the Bull Queen. And then the only number 1 there ever could have been was Golden Cut.
Yeah. And my ones were the Vidians from Star Trek Voyager, the Turno Empire from Star Wars The Old Republic, Cardassian Union, Galactic Empire, and then the Borg for my pick. And I think that's, if I've done my maths right, a 10-5 victory for Star Trek, which, yeah, is, I think, the third episode in a row that we've come out of tops.
Star Trek is on a roll. I wonder what next week's going to bring with that, though, because we're changing our topic quite considerably versus some of the previous ones. It'll be interesting to see if that...
Who's your guest on the next one? Do you have a guest on the next one?
We do have a guest on the next one, and he has done some... lovely some lovely episodes on Hayden frequencies about this topic already. His name's. I
was going to say if that's the always effervescent Stu Jackson, you might have another biased Trek on your hand.
Yeah. So. Yeah, we'll have him for the next episode from Hayden Frequency. So go and watch both of them, Atir or Mad Turnip and Stu on Hayden Frequencies, please. And I'm going to just say thank you for coming. Matt. It's lovely hearing your thoughts on everything.
Definitely, thank you so much for joining us. I had a great time chatting to you about that. You've opened my eyes to Golden Cart as well. What can I say?
100%.
So we'll make sure to get links to your podcast and everything down in the comments on our YouTube as well. I'll see if there's a way for us to do it on Spotify. I'm not entirely sure, but I can definitely direct, because we try and direct everything. So anyone watching not watching, let me start again, blah, 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 blah. Everyone who's listening on Spotify at the minute, we do also have the recordings on YouTube, so we'll make sure that link is added to this Spotify description, and yeah, you'll be able to find all the links for our episodes as well as for Mad Turnips podcast as well.
Fantastic, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Agree, a pleasure. Yeah,
likewise.
Come and watch us. Yeah, we'll have all the links there. I don't think there's much more to add, to be honest.
Lovely. Apart from thank you again. Take care. May the force be with you.
Yeah. Live long and prosper. May the force be with you.